So you're keen to learn this beautiful art of photography, but what can you do to practice? You need a challenge and you need a focus, and that is what I'm going to give you in this video. I'm going to now give you 5 ideas for any photographer to push your skills forward and make your photography great. And within those 5 ideas, I'm going to give you 3 brilliant tips that's going to help you execute them. Idea 1, street photography. The reason I'm giving you this idea is because it's really accessible and it will speed you up. It will speed up your vision because when you're out on the street, you've got to see interesting things quite instantly. It will speed you up with camera settings because you haven't got time to muck about, right? If you see something good, you've got to be quick and be able to get your camera settings right instantly. And it will help you learn very quickly from your own mistakes because that speed is hard to do for anyone if you're a pro or an amateur. And when you get things wrong, pictures start going blurry, you can then analyze them and put them right. So it's a really good idea to improve your skills in settings and finding things interesting quickly. So here are my top tips. Number 1, limit yourself. So limit yourself to 1 focal length, 1 battery, 1 card. Just go out with that. Now, if you've got a prime lens, I strongly recommend you use a prime lens for street photography. But if not, keep your focal length to 35 or 50 mil. That limitation will give you an extra challenge to get things right quickly. Now, if you don't know what focal lengths or prime lenses are, then I recommend that you come over to the School of Photography and check out our beginners photography course. Tip 2 is the busier it is, the more invisible you will be. Walking around on the street with a camera is not an easy thing. You know, you feel like everyone's looking at you and thinking, what's he doing, whatever, right? Well, if you're in a busy area, you just sink into the background. If you're in an area that's not so busy, you do stand out a bit more. So find a busy area or a busy place to start practicing your street photography. Tip number 3 is not to walk the length of London or whatever city that you're in. Find interesting spaces and hang around there, yeah? Find an interesting scene and just wait for life to appear within it. The next idea is forest photography. And the reason I'm setting you this one is because it's extremely difficult to see the forest through the trees. I personally find forest photography really hard. So it's really good to improve your compositional skills, you know, the way you frame the world. If you've got something as chaotic as a forest and you can compose that and make it look good in a square or a rectangle, you're doing a good job. And forest photography is good because it will help you practice your use of natural light. That's not easy, I can tell you. And hopefully in most cases it's accessible. You've just got to walk to a woodland area or get in a car and drive to the forest or whatever. And here are my top tips for getting good forest photography. Tip 1, remove the white, okay? Focus in the woodland. Any white areas in the sky or above the trees, you're going to need to crop out, okay? So zoom in, crop out any white sky. 2, cloudy days are actually better. So with a lot of photography, you want then lovely sunrises and sunsets, etc. But in a forest, that can be too harsh as it hits the leaves and the trees. So a cloudy day is a good day to get out there in the forest and practice forest photography. Tip 3 is use the compositional rule of odds. So you want 3s, 5s, 7s, whatever within your image. And the reason for that is the forest is chaotic. It's not ordered. When you frame things in even numbers, 2s, 4s, 6s, etc., it brings a sense of order, and that doesn't look right in a forest. If you are really interested in this genre of photography, we have got an in-depth pro course over at the School of Photography, over 7 hours of forest photography content. And it's absolutely brilliant for people who want to master this genre of photography. The next idea I've got for you is still life photography. You may not be able to go outside for whatever reason. Well, that shouldn't stop you taking photos. You can do stuff inside. Again, it's very accessible. You can do, whatever you've got lying about. You can do flowers, you can do fruit, you can do product photography. Whatever you've got laying around the house, you can create a still life image from it. And this idea will be very good for practicing camera settings because you're in a controlled, slower environment, shall we say. All right, so if you're practicing and you're trying to get used to your camera and your camera settings, still life's going to be a really good idea for you. You can also learn and practice composition and lighting techniques in a very slow and controlled manner. So here are my top tips for still life photography. Tip 1, soften the light. So firstly, make sure that you are as close to a window as possible and make sure that window is quite big and letting in a lot of light. And then if the light is not already soft coming in from the window, you can use chiffon fabric, net curtains or whatever, tape it to the window and that will give you a lovely soft lighting effect over the objects that you want to photograph. And if you want to learn about lighting, soft, hard, reflected, diffused, all of that kind of stuff, come over and check out our studio lighting course at theschoolofphotography.com. Tip 2 is to choose an appropriate background. Make sure that the background complements whatever you are photographing. Don't have too much clashy stuff. Now you can use paper roll, old wallpaper I've seen used before, fabric, and if you're really into product photography or still life photography, you can actually buy specific backgrounds to use in this type of photography. But the main thing here to consider is, does it complement the subject that you are shooting? And my third tip here is to use a reflector. They're so simple and easy to create and they make a hell of a difference. You can use a piece of polystyrene, a white piece of card, you can use silver foil, or you can buy specific photography reflectors from Amazon and other places. They're not that expensive. And that will bounce light back into your subject and fill in any shadow areas and stop it from being too contrasty, unless obviously you're going to go for that contrasty look, of course. But if you're not, then a reflector is going to really help you out there, and they're really easy to create just from stuff that you've got at home. The next idea I've got for you is headshots. I wasn't just going to say portraiture as general, because I think when you've got a generalized subject, can actually make it harder for you. So I'm telling you to focus on headshots. Now, in my experience of teaching photography, which is over 20 years now, 2002, I've been teaching photography. What I know is that learners in general fear portraiture. It's very easy to go out and do a landscape. I don't mean easy to get a good landscape. I mean, you can just basically go out and take pictures of the land. But when it comes to engaging with people, I think that can be a challenge for learners, and that is why I am setting you headshots as one of your ideas. Taking on this challenge will build your confidence in working with people. It's very intimate, isn't it, working with someone, especially with a headshot. This is why I've said headshots, because you really need to connect with someone. It's not like just taking a picture of someone on the street. It's much more personal, it's much more intimate. And actually what you're going to find is it's more to do with how you deal with your subject, How do you bring them out of their shell? How do you make them look natural and feel comfortable in front of your camera? And of course, everyone loves a good headshot of themselves. They can use it for social media, for their business page, or lots of other things. And like all the other ideas, you're of course practicing your camera settings, your use of depth of field, that will be more specific to this one. You'll be practicing composition again, and your use of natural light. And here are my top tips for headshot photography. Tip 1 is to make eye contact. Get the subject, get your model to look directly into the lens, not you, into the lens. And once you've nailed that connection, then you can experiment with looking away, looking out to the scene, you know, looking over to the left or the right, etc. But that eye contact is really important when it comes to headshot photography. Tip 2 is to use a bounce reflector. Again, you can use a piece of white card if you want, or polystyrene, or you can buy the reflectors off of Amazon. What it will actually do is it will fill shadows from below if you put the reflector underneath, but it will also create what's called a catch light in the eyes. And that, again, together with the eye contact, that will be really important for the look of a headshot. Tip 3 is to zoom in and get close, okay? Don't get close and zoom out, okay? You want to zoom in and get close. That will help you compress the scene and give you a shallower depth of field. And you can do that with any lens. Any kit lens will do that for you. Now, if you want to learn headshot photography properly and you want it to become a profession or part of your income, then why don't you check out our course with fellow YouTuber Mark McGee, where he teaches you all about professional headshot photography. My last idea for you is to photograph cities at night. Now, this one is really challenging. You have to use manual settings. You may well need to bracket your photography, and you can't rely on your camera's exposure meter because it's such a contrasty thing. Cities at night, it's black, you know, nighttime with bright city lights. So you can't rely on the camera's natural exposure meter. You have to use the meter that you've got in your brain. And here are my top tips for cities at night photography. Tip 1 is to use a tripod. It might sound obvious, but you are going to need to do long exposures, 30-second, minute, 2-minute, etc. And you're going to need a good, sturdy tripod. Do not even bother with a flimsy light one. It's just not going to work. You need something solid, you need something strong. And I've seen many a photographer get blurry pictures of night photography because they're not using a good sturdy tripod. So there's tip 1. Make sure you've got a tripod. Tip 2 is to do light trails, you know, the cars, the buses or whatever, streaking past on the roads. It's great fun, the photos look fantastic, and it's a real test of your control of shutter speeds. And if you want to learn that one properly, we've got a YouTube video on light trail photography. Go and check that out. And my tip 3 is do not rely on your camera's exposure meter. But don't even use the histogram, all right? It's not going to work. If you use a histogram on night photography, it's all going to be over to the dark side, all right? You need to use your brain, your knowledge of exposures, your skill when it comes to looking at images on the back of the camera, and that is how you're going to get it right, okay? That's how you're going to get your exposures right. You just take shots, take test shots, zoom in, check your highlights, check your shadows, and make sure that there's details within the highlights and within the shadows. And if you do want to learn city at night photography properly, we've got a whole course over at the School of Photography, and it's really good. We take you around London, we teach you how to compose a shot, how to expose a shot, how to bracket pictures, how to process them, and how to get stunning photos of your city at night. And now we need your help. Do you have any ideas, any photography ideas that people can use? If you do, put it in the comments, because you know these are just 5 of the best that I think, because they're accessible and challenging. That's why I've give you my 5, but I'm not the fountain of all knowledge here, right? You might have other ideas that have helped you learn photography. Put them in the comments of this video if you have. Then get out there and challenge yourself with these ideas that I've shown you, and I would love to see your results. All you need to do is hashtag the School of Photography when you post them on social media, and we check that hashtag out everywhere. So we'll like and comment wherever we can. If you want feedback and you want more of a critique, then you need to become a member of the School of Photography, and you can upload it into our specific members areas where we can all chip in, and it is a really, really fun learning community. So if this video has helped you out, please help us out. Like, subscribe to our channel, comment. Like I said, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if you think these are good ideas, or if you've got any other ideas, put it in the comments. We can get a discussion going. Share this video with your friends if you think that they will enjoy it too. And then I'll see you in the next video. And remember, if you want to learn photography properly, come over and see us at theschoolofphotography.com.